has 4 hooves and wants to buy a potion?
My eyes are
Ah!
Hi there, I'm Luz Noceda. So this one day, I found a portal and ended up someplace.
Well, now we know how loose, I think that's how you pronounce it. I mean, well, at least I'm not pronouncing it like Luz anymore.
Boiling Isles. And it's
Boiling
amazing.
Isles.
The kind of place you just want to wake up every day and say, "Good morning, terrifying fantasy world."
Good morning.
Such friendly names.
Nice.
And this is the Owl House, the best place on the Isles.
Hoot hoot.
That's Hootie.
Hoot hoot.
He's always
I still remember the opening of the door was really fun. And Jesus, who do have a long neck?
Look at that cutie pie.
I am not your cutie pie.
Yes, you are.
I know.
And Ida, the Owl Lady.
The most powerful witch on the Boiling Isles.
Wait, I better let her say it.
The most powerful witch on the Boiling Isles.
She's fierce. She's fierce.
Understood?
Oh no, please stop.
And someday, I'm going to be just like her. Want to see more of the Isles?
Number
Just
one
a
fan,
short
okay.
stop right away is the town of Bonesborough. Is there anything better than people
Town of
watching in the
Bonesborough?
demon realm? The marketplace has the best stuff in town. What has 4 hooves and wants to buy a potion?
My eyes are
Ah, the oh my God, the eyes are nipples. Okay,
And Hexide, the most amazing magic school ever.
Hexide is, I guess it's this world's Hogwarts. I guess.
So that's the Isles. I know sometimes it can seem a little different.
It's very stinky and gross. But if you look at it from a different perspective,
It looks just like home.
The Owl House premieres Friday,
Heck
January
yes.
10th on Disney Channel.
And yes, you see it right there. Owl House is actually coming out much sooner than I personally expected. January 10th, oh my God, like so soon after the new year, and hopefully just like what Disney did with DuckTales and Amphibia, I do hope that they release maybe 1 or 2 of the first episodes on YouTube to check out, because if they could do that, I'll be able to review it right when it comes out, and I hopefully will, because the Owl House does look pretty interesting. So hey everybody, Blood Moon Bobby here, and we have checked out the latest trailer for the Owl House, and I actually have a few more notes regarding, what's going to happen when the Owl House comes out, much of which comes from the Hollywood Reporter, which reported that, as we already heard, the show is coming out on January 10th. I know I said in the last trailer reaction for the Owl House, I got this impression that Luz, please tell me if I have the pronunciation right in the comments. I know in prior reactions I pronounced it Luz, but that's only because I personally didn't know. And I know I said that in prior trailer reactions. I said that Luz seemed like a very kind of shy, sort of insecure character. I mean, in one of the previous reactions I did, where we got a look at what's it like when she first enters this world, she looked like, she had like tears in like her eyes when she was flying around with Ida. So, but I've heard that, she's actually a very self-assured character. Maybe it was just a case of where, like, where she enters this world and she was, very scared because, it looks like a, totally whole new place, and it's going to take her some time to get set in. But, but hey, being self-assured is definitely a really good character trait. Anyway, as I was saying from this report from THR, they've also said that a second season of The Owl House is already coming up. So it's kind of like what happened with both Star vs. the Force of Evil and Amphibia. Like right before those 2 shows first launched, they already got, word that, they're going to be making a second season. And I'm sure it's because, like Star and Amphibia, the Owl House has already grown, quite a fandom. I would say, I mean, people are definitely excited for the show. I see that in my social media and comment sections quite a bit. The last time I got to meet these pretty well-known cosplayers, Heather and Vivi, here's your shout-out in this video. Vivi was actually dressed up as Luz. So, yeah, she's definitely really excited for this show to be coming out. As I said in previous Owl House trailer reactions, the vibe I'm getting from looking at the Owl House, it kind of reminds me of, it's kind of like if you mix things like Star vs. the Force of Evil, or at least it looks like it's kind of like if they mix Star vs. the Force of Evil with a bit of Amphibia and a bit of Harry Potter, mainly because it revolves around, a character who's learning magic learning magic, kind of like Star, but in a whole new world, like Amphibia and Harry Potter. And she's going to what appears to be a magic school, again, kind of like Harry Potter. Not to say that, I'm not saying that the Owl House is, ripping off these three properties is entirely. I'm sure, it's more taking inspiration. It definitely has, a very, like, humorous side to it all. And, I definitely think that the premise is really interesting, and I'm really interested to see how it goes, especially nowadays, with cartoons, especially when they're coming out. And I know I mentioned Star in this trailer reaction, but it's funny to think how back when the show first came out, at least my first impression of Star was that I was like, oh, okay, so it's going to be about the show where Star and her best friend Marco are going to fight monsters. But I did not know, it was going to get, super dramatic, and it was going to involve things like, drama within her family, who she really is, and even the fate of magic in her world, without getting too spoilery in case you haven't seen the show. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with the Owl House. I mean, if they're already, coming out with a second season, that tells me that they've either got much more of a continuing story to tell, or they just, or there is, definitely fuel for more episodes somehow in some way. It's kind of like how, people will say nowadays with cartoons, it's like, oh, it'll look nice and cute on first glance, and then by the end of the first season, somebody's dead. So I'm curious to see if the Owl House is going to go in this direction. From a trailer, it's really hard to say. Much of the trailers for the Owl House up until this point have been more about introducing characters and the world that it's set in. And, with this new one, we get, even more, of a look. I think we even get, some of these places actually finally get names in this trailer. And we get a very, brief glance about how Luz, enters this world through a portal. It's not like, it's sprung out of a magic box, kind of like what happened in Amphibia. If they are going to go in a really story-driven direction, not saying there are, I can't determine that from looking at this trailer. Of course, they're not going to spoil it because, they want to hold the surprise. If it is going to go in that direction, I'm sure it's going to be kind of like Amphibia, like a couple of Disney's prior shows, some of which I talked about in this trailer discussion, where it's like, when you don't see it coming, it just makes the suspense more and more crazy. And the Owl House, it does seem like, the kind of show where they go on and magical adventures. I'm sure there's going to be, lots of villains to fight, hence why we get those bits of, like, Ida doing some, not necessarily, I don't know if I'd say butt kicking, but you see her doing some, well, okay, yeah, some butt kicking, but, but does, some attacks, right there. I do kind of hope, even though, I'm sort of on this, I do kind of hope that with the Owl House, especially if it turns out to be a really good show. Not saying that I think it looks like a really bad show. I'm saying, we're definitely going to have to see the first episode to find out. But, if it does turn out, really good, and especially if it spawns a really big fan base, which it already is, spawning quite a big one, I do hope that Disney does take it as a sign of, hey, maybe for this one, we have to prep more merch and things like that. Because I felt that was kind of lacking when Star vs. the Force of Evil was on the air. It started to, pick up, especially towards the end of the series, but it would be nice, especially if the Owl House turns out really good and even more popular than it is now, that, maybe Disney should consider this time. And it's funny because I was actually earlier today talking with somebody at my workplace who was really big into Star, and he was like, yeah, Disney doesn't seem, they only seem like they want to make merch for the movies and not so much their TV shows. So I do hope that, I mean, the Owl House is already popular enough already, so, like, I'm thinking that maybe they should consider coming out with even more. I know that at the New York Comic Con there was, like, an owl-shaped pin that was released, but I hope that, Disney would consider releasing even more. I am hoping that, I don't know if Disney is gonna, like, release the episodes as they come out on Disney Plus. Ideally, I wish they'd do that. I don't really want them to do the thing they did with Star, where, in the case of Star, you know, when that was put out on Hulu, I felt like it took a while for the 4th season of Star to come to Hulu. Like, the episodes didn't, you know, come out as they were released on Hulu. It felt like we had to wait until season 4 ended for that entire season to get put on the platform. So I do hope it's a kind of habit that, you know, Disney would consider adopting on Disney Plus with something like the Owl House. So I really hope that, you know, they would consider releasing the Owl House on Disney Plus, even you know, as the series comes out. So yeah, so that's my honest take on the latest developments of the Owl House. Let me know your thoughts on this trailer down below, as well as the recent announcements. Are you excited that the show is already getting a 2nd season? What kind of merch would you like to see them come out with? Until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you all for watching. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a comment. Subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell to get notified when I release my latest videos. Follow me at Blood Moon Bobby on your favorite social media platforms to take part in polls, see my tech tips, and to hear about my video plans. Thanks for watching.